State, you may call your next witness.
State would call Vincent Battaglia.
Raise your right hand to be sworn. Please do swear or affirm that the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Sir, you may be seated. After you're seated, if you can state and spell your name for the record for us.
It's Vincent Battaglia, Vincent Battaglia.
Thank you. Sir, you may inquire.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Can you tell us what it is you do for a living?
Right now I work for an auto parts company,
And where do you live?
New Jersey.
Back on February of 2020, where were you living at that time?
I was living at the Tealwood Apartments in Winter Park, Florida.
And what were you doing at that time when you were living at Tealwood?
I was enrolled in Full Sail University. I was in school.
When you were living at Tealwood, did you have any roommates?
Yeah, I had one roommate, Brandon. Yeah, that was it. Them.
That's Brandon Motes.
Yes.
Did you have neighbors?
Yeah.
Were you neighbors with Sarah Boone and George Torres?
Yes.
And approximately how long were you neighbors with them?
About a year, a little over a year. I moved there in January 2019.
And during the course of that year that you were neighbors with them, did you have occasion to interact with them at times?
Yeah.
In fact, did you ever go over to their home?
Yeah, like a couple times, yeah.
And I believe you tuned a guitar for the child there at the house?
Yeah.
This Tealwood apartment complex, how would you describe the walls that separated your units?
Thin, like very thin walls.
And with those walls being so thin, would you ever have occasion to hear arguing and yelling coming from Sarah Boone and George Torres's apartment?
Yeah.
How often would you hear this?
Almost daily.
Did Sarah Boone ever approach you about the things that you heard coming from their apartment?
Yes.
And where were you when she approached you?
I was smoking a cigarette on my back patio.
And approximately what time
It was
was this?
pretty late. I can't remember the exact time, but it was definitely anywhere between like midnight to 2 a.m., like right around there.
And do you remember how much before the date when the police called that this occurred?
A few months, like it, probably 4 to 5 months before that.
So 4 or 5 months before February of
2020.
2020.
Yeah.
And when she approached you on this late evening / early morning on that day, what did she tell you?
Pretty much just kind of like, if I do hear anything, like through the walls or whatever, as out back, just kind of keep my mouth shut, like don't really speak about it or anything like that or say anything to anyone. And I just was like, okay.
Did she make any motions with her hands?
Yeah, like just kind of like, you know, finger over the lips, like kind of shh, like keep it hush, like that kind of thing.
So she told you not to report anything you may have heard about arguments or yelling or fighting, anything going on over there.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you recall the evening of February 23rd, 2020?
I do, yeah.
And what about that evening sticks out to you?
That sticks out to me from that night was literally just there was a very, very loud noise that I heard that was loud and powerful enough to shake my bedroom wall. And I remember that because I was sitting on my bed on FaceTime with my girlfriend at the time, and I literally felt the wall shake, and it stopped me mid-conversation. And she even asked me through the computer, like, what was that? And I was like, I have no idea.
Did you hear any yelling coming from their apartment on that night?
Before that, yeah, like it was just arguing kind of stuff.
What was the last thing you heard?
The last thing I heard was like the loud noise and just a little bit of shuffling, and that was kind of it. It just kind of went silent after that.
Could you hear anything that was being said?
Not clearly, and it was never really anything clear. It was just like you could hear arguing back and forth, just kind of like an I hate you, like it's whatever it is, whatever the argument was about kind of thing. At the time, that's really all it was, but it was never really clear enough to hear like the full argument. And honestly, I never really paid attention too much to it. If I heard it, I kind of stepped into my living room to be further away from it. So.
Did you hear both the defendant's voice and also George Torres's voice?
Yeah, all the time. It was like a back and forth. Yeah.
So other than the statements and the phrases of I hate you, you weren't able to discern the contents of this argument?
No.
What was the last sound you heard?
The last sound that I heard was like the loud banging noise that it was like a very odd sounding noise that I've never heard before this day, but it very much sounded like it was where my bed was positioned. It was kind of towards the back of the apartment, and it almost sounded like it was coming towards me, but like on the side of me, then it was just like a loud rumbling noise, like that literally sounded like it was kind of far away from me, and then it like ended up like almost next to me. And like I said, the walls are thin, so like it's very easy to hear like through the walls, and not even just sideways. Like I hear my upstairs neighbor, like all around, very thin walls.
Now, was your bedroom, where was it located in your apartment?
The back of the apartment, so it was like there's like a little kick out next to my patio, and that's like that was my bedroom back there, like along the grass back there.
On the first floor?
On the first floor, yeah.
I have no further questions.
Any cross-examination?
Mr. Battaglia, good morning.
Good morning.
Now, you said that you lived there next to Sarah Boone and George Torres for about a year.
Yes, sir.
Are you aware that the police were called to their residence
Like,
while you were there for the year? Are you aware of any incident in which the police were called to their residence?
I had never seen anybody there, but I had had other neighbors in the complex tell me that it has been on multiple occasions. So that's why.
Just instead of what somebody else told you,
Yeah.
just what you would observe. Did you ever, the year that you were there living next to them,
Yeah.
were you ever aware that the police were called to their residence?
No, the times that I was home, I never saw any police at the apartment there.
All right. And did you work odd hours, or you went?
Yeah, and with my schooling and stuff too, I used to have class at like 1 o'clock in the morning. So all the time I was at random moments, like just not home throughout the day and night and stuff like that. So yeah.
Do you have an opinion as to whether or not, based on your interaction with Sarah Boone,
I'm going to object.
Let me finish the question first, please.
do you know from your experience with Sarah Boone and your experience with George Torres that they drank alcohol?
Yeah.
Hang on.
I'll withdraw it to that question.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Are you aware that they both consumed alcohol to excess?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, of course.
Now, Vincent, I think you had testified, you may have given a statement to law enforcement,
Yes, it was one of the detectives.
a recorded statement?
Yes, I can't remember his name, but yes.
Okay, and I think it was on February 23rd of 2020?
Yeah, right around that time, yeah.
I believe you had said that,
I'm going to object this to improper impeachment.
Approach. Objection's overruled for now.
sir, would it be fair to say on that date you got home around 7? 7 p.m.?
7 p.m.?
Yes.
Which day was this?
Sunday, February 23rd, 2020.
No, that day I actually got home from work probably around 1 or 2 o'clock or so.
In the morning?
No, in the afternoon. Because I went to work that morning at around 5 a.m.
And you said that you heard the normal yelling and arguing at about that time when you got home?
No, it was around that time, but it was really around like 10 o'clock, 10:30 is when like the arguing I could really hear clearly. It was like around 10:30 at night.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Any redirect?
Just very briefly.
Yes, sir.
So on cross-examination, you were asked about the arguing you heard, and I believe your testimony was that it was pretty intense around 10:30.
Yeah.
Approximately what time was it that you heard this loud crashing thump sound that you described?
Little after that.
Overruled.
It was a little after that arguing and stuff. It was probably around 11:15, probably 30, 45 minutes after like the arguing I could hear started.
No other questions?
Can this witness be released?
Yes, Your Honor.
Not subject to recall.
We would like him subject to recall. You've got his number.
Okay.
Your Honor,